Hello BookTube. I have another one from Before the Muses by Benjamin R. Foster. This is the Tukulti-Ninurta epic. Apologies in advance if I pronounce any of the names wrong. There are a few ancient names to get through in this one. But anyways, the Tukulti-Ninurta epic. This is a propaganda epic about an Assyrian king's war against Babylon. I actually heard about this epic when I was reading Assyria by Eckhart Fromm. And he talks about Tukulti-Ninurta in this book, and he talks briefly about the epic. So Tukulti-Ninurta is a real historical king or emperor of Assyria. So this isn't a myth. This is something based on actual history, although it's propaganda for the Assyrian king. Basically, he fought a war against Babylon and then had somebody create an epic about it. According to Benjamin R. Foster here in his introduction to the epic is written in a very mature and learned style. I'm just going to quote here from his introduction. He says, "The text presents a distinctive, turgid splendor of language with rare words and convoluted syntax. The idioms of treaties and diplomacy, penitential psalms and laments, heroic tales, hymnography, and commemorative inscriptions are freely used." Now, I don't think all of this comes through in the translation, but I guess that must have been there in the original Akkadian. Oh, and by the way, Akkadian is the language for both Babylon and Assyria. It was a common language that they shared. They had different dialects of it, but they shared the language of Akkadian. So anyways, during this period of history, the Assyrian Empire is in the ascendant. The Assyrian Empire is stronger than Babylon. Babylon and Assyria have a long rivalry that goes back many centuries. And in fact, as Eckhart Fromm points out in this book, the Tukulti-Ninurta epic references the treachery of a Babylonian king from a century ago in here. What was his name again? It starts with a K. Kilgarzu, I think. Kilgarzu, a Babylonian king from a century beforehand, who had apparently broken some treaty or raided some Assyrian lands. His treachery is mentioned in this epic. So, as Eckhart Fromm says here, in the long history between Assyria and Babylon, nothing was forgotten. They remembered all the slights that the other kingdom had enacted against them. So, but yes, Babylon at this point in history is in a weakened state. Assyria is in a strong state, strong point in their history. The Babylonian kingdom has been taken over by the Kassite people. I think that was around the collapse of the Bronze Age. And so they're ruled by a Kassite king whose name is Kashtiliash. Is referred to in here as Kashtiliash IV. For some reason or other, the treaty between Babylon and Assyria breaks down. In the Assyrian version, the Tukulti-Ninurta epic, it's Babylon's treachery that causes the treaty to break down. And so Tukulti-Ninurta attacks Babylon. Now the epic starts off with praising Tukulti-Ninurta and talking about what a great king he is. And then it talks about the treachery of Babylon and how Babylon is so treacherous. And then we get to a point where hostility is about to commence between Babylon and Assyria. And there are some merchants from Babylon who are there on, what are they? It's called commercial immunity, which was, I guess, like a thing of the ancient world. The merchants were supposed to be immune from these wars or hostilities. But the merchants are violating their commercial immunity by acting as spies for Babylon. And they get captured and taken to Tukulti-Ninurta. But instead of punishing them, he shows mercy on them, he anoints them with oil, and then he sets them free, even though they had violated their commercial immunity by acting as spies. He sends a messenger over to the Babylonian king, Kashtiliash, in which he rehearses all the reasons why Babylon is in the wrong and why Kashtiliash is a really bad king. But as the Benjamin R. Foster notes here, there's a gap in the text in which it looks like possibly the message is ending on conciliation, like, we can still work this out, I'm willing to forgive you, something like that. It's not there in the text, but it looks like that's what the gap may have been. And this reminds me of something I should have mentioned maybe at the beginning of this video, is that this text is full of gaps, which I guess is true of most texts we have from this period. But I don't know if you can see this on the camera. This is the opening here, where it's just every line has a gap. It doesn't stay like that. The text does become more whole, but then there are still gaps in it. Kashtiliash performs a diplomatic snub by detaining the messenger. And I guess, the messenger is also supposed to have immunity, but he gets detained by Kashtiliash. And then Kashtiliash sends a non-conciliatory message back. So it looks like war is coming here. Tukulti-Ninurta is exchanging letters still, in which is rehearsing all the transgressions that Babylon has committed. Meanwhile, Kashtiliash goes on a soliloquy in which he realizes all the wrongs that he has done. Like, I've really screwed this up. I did this bad thing, I did this bad thing, I did this bad thing, I did not conciliate, I detained the messenger, I violated the oaths of the gods, I did all this terrible stuff. And then once he gets word that the Assyrian army is marching, he starts to go a little bit mad. He won't eat his food. He starts running around. He starts to be scared of his own shadow and scared of his own army. Benjamin Foster, I think, says he's just going berserk here. Then, as the Assyrian army advances, Kashtiliash and his army flee. And it looks like his plan is to just play guerrilla warfare and just retreat and then just do sneak attacks. Tukulti-Ninurta realizes this is the plan and sends him a message saying, you're just trying to wait me out and you're hoping that the heat and the floods are going to take care of my army. Meaning like it sounds like the strategy of the Russians during Napoleon, right? Just retreat out of the cities and let the harsh terrain do the work of defeating the army for you. Kashtiliash sends back a message saying, well, I do want to fight you really, but we have to wait until everything's propitious and we get good omens from the gods. But this messenger he sends is actually just a delaying tactic, because while he's doing this, he does a sneak attack on the Assyrian army. And the Assyrian army is caught by the sneak attack by the Babylonian army, and they're not even in their armor. But they spring like lions, and even without being in their armor, they just are so eager to fight that they are able to send the Babylonian army back. Benjamin R. Foster says it ends in a bit of a stalemate, although it sounds from the epic like it's a decisive defeat from the Babylonian army. Then there's another gap in the text. The Assyrian army is really urging Tukulti-Ninurta to battle, and then Tukulti-Ninurta agrees to go into battle. There's a section where a bunch of the gods are portrayed as fighting on the Assyrian side. And this is interesting, so I'll just read this. Assyr went first. The conflagration of defeat burst out upon the enemy. Enlil was whirling in the midst of the foe, fanning the blaze. Anna set a pitiless mace to the opponent. Sin, the luminary, laid upon them the tension of battle. Adad, the hero, made wind and flood pour down over their fighting. Shamash, lord of judgment, blinded the eyesight of the army of Sumer and Akkad. Valiant Ninurta, vanguard of the gods. This is, by the way, where Tukulti-Ninurta gets one of his names from. It's from the god Ninurta. Valiant Ninurta, vanguard of the gods, smashed their weapons. Ishtar flayed her jump rope. It's a little bit unclear, I think, what her jump rope is. Driving their warriors berserk. And then behind the gods come the Assyrian warriors, who are portrayed here as stripping off their armor, stripping off their breastplates, discarding their clothing, and just jumping into the battle like savage lions. So, I guess we're meant to believe that the Assyrians just went in without any armor and were still so ferocious they were able to defeat the Babylonians. There's more gaps in the text. The fate of Kashtiliash is not clear from this text, although from another inscription, it looks like Tukulti-Ninurta bragged about taking Kashtiliash back to the capital city of Assyria as a captive. And then it just lists all of the plunder that Tukulti-Ninurta took back to Assyria with him from the cities of Babylon. That's the end of the epic of Tukulti-Ninurta. So it's an interesting epic. It gives an insight into what propaganda in the ancient world looked like. It's based on a historical event, so interesting for historical reasons. And, that scene where all the gods are joining in and fighting with the armies of Assyria seems to me to be reminiscent of like the Iliad, where the gods are fighting in the battle. So a little bit of mythic epicness mixed in with that as well. So yes, that is the epic of Tukulti-Ninurta, collected here in this edition of Before the Muses.